if it's recording or not. They totally changed Teams from when we were online. Okay, recording has started. Perfect. Okay, we are going to open the, actually, maybe I don't see James here. Just make sure he's on here.
Yeah, sorry, I was just waiting for everyone to leave the other meeting, so.
Okay.
So can you record now?
Yeah, we're recording already.
Okay, all right. Hopefully this is the only meeting going on and everyone is here, so.
Yeah, good to start.
All right, good to go.
Okay, we are going to begin by saying we respectfully acknowledge that Surrey schools reside on the traditional, unceded, and shared territories of the Coast Salish peoples. We highlight this history knowing that relationships and partnerships based on respect with the Indigenous people of this land is important for truth and reconciliation. So that's an important thing to start with. So just a little bit about how this meeting is going to go. I will hand it over to our program coordinator, James On, in a minute or so. And he's going to share a PowerPoint and go through it. And if anyone has any questions, just please type the question in the chat and I will monitor the chat the entire time. And if there is an opportunity for me to ask questions to Mr. On, I will interrupt and he can answer. If you have questions for some students, we have some students here. I think I see Caitlin and, well, there's a bunch of them. So for all the students, current students that are here, thank you very much. It's good to have you so you can maybe give your opinion on some things too. So yeah, again, if you have any questions, just put it in the chat. I can answer some of them in the chat or I'll get Mr. On to answer them. So with that said, Mr. On, hopefully you can share the screen.
Let's see if I can. Yeah, can you see that?
Yes, we can now.
Okay. Good. Yeah, welcome everyone. This is our 10th info session. And we traditionally do it in person, but the last 3 years, because of COVID, we decided that it's best to do it online. This year we could have done it in person, but we found this works quite well, and I think for a lot of parents as well, just being at the comfort of your own home to be able to tune in and ask questions, listen to both the program, it worked out better. So to start off, let me just kind of give you a breakdown of what this information is about, this information session. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try to explain the program as a whole. Because one of the biggest things that we want to make sure is that you know what you're getting yourselves into. It is a big commitment to come into this program. It's a 2-year program, and so we want to make sure that you know with eyes wide open what it is that you're enrolling in, and also to give you a little bit of background of why the program was set up the way it was, so that way you kind of have a better understanding of why some of the decisions and why some of the procedures and processes are in place. So. We started, the school opened in 1999. I'm going back a little bit here. I was part of the original staff that set up the school. The school is now 24 years old, I guess. And Science Academy came along about 10 years ago. So I'm just going to kind of go through with you some of the reasons we set it up and some of the advantages of our program. So why Science Academy? One of the first reasons was we felt it was time to meet the needs and wants of this community. When our school first opened, a lot of the parents were asking for more university equivalent courses like IB and AP. And the IB program, each district is allowed to have one. And the IB program was set up in Semiahmoo, which is quite a trek. I still remember before Science Academy started, we would lose 3, 4, 5 students every year wanting to go to Semiahmoo. And it was quite a commitment driving all the way down there to do that. But yeah, a lot of the parents did want us to create more opportunities, and AP seemed to be the way to do that. About 10 years ago, no, actually, that's dated. More about 15 years ago, we expanded the AP program. Initially, we only had AP Calculus AB, but then we expanded to AP Calculus BC, which is a full year AP Calculus course. We also offer AP Psychology at the school, as well as AP Econ. We have had lots of success preparing students for university, but now there are some reservations that we do have about the AP program. We have found that the AP program, it is a very strict, very extensive curriculum, but quite often students can get a good AP score and not really understand the material truly. To get a 5 or a 4 on the exam, if you get a tutor or get a good workbook and you're a good test writer, it is possible for you to get university credit. But we found that some of the students that were getting these credits were not fully prepared to handle the rigors of university and therefore, and even skipping a course. The second reason, Science Academy, we also wanted to give opportunity for students to better appreciate the process of acquiring scientific knowledge. There were some concerns expressed by the universities, talking to some deans and so forth. They were mentioning about how a lot of students would come to university and were book smart, but didn't know how to use that knowledge that they had learned outside of the classroom. And research also shows that students should become better at doing science rather than just knowing science. A difference between a student that's just getting knowledge from the textbook and a person that actually understands the process of science. And this is consistent to 21st century learning. The new curriculum in BC is actually based on this idea of the processes are way more important than just facts and data. And this model that we've come up with for Science Academy is consistent to the Science 1 program at UBC. Science 1 program at UBC has been around for 20 odd years, 25 years. We used to send a lot of students that went to that program, and quite often they come back to me and talk about how having courses that were kind of integrated together, being in a cohort of a big group, had many advantages. And so we decided to, like I said, model our program similar to theirs. And the last thing is that we find that learning should not happen in isolation, but instead with a community of learners. And this is really important because what we found is a lot of students that self-studied and, like I said, were book smart, didn't really understand what processes happen when you get to university. I still remember when back in my undergraduate years, and the engineers would often work together, and they had a heavy workload, there were 6 or 7 courses, but they were able to get a lot of things done more efficiently because they were working in groups and working together and learning how to learn from each other. And so our program tries to model a similar kind of scenario. And we also, from the Math Science Department, would like to give more opportunity for students to become leaders. The opportunity to enter top Canadian international universities. When our school first opened, we would send our students all across Canada, but very rarely did any of them go to schools in the US or abroad. We also thought that they need to develop their emotional intelligence while striving for academic excellence. The big thing right now seems to be about emotional intelligence is way more important than any academic intelligence. Knowing who you are, knowing how to handle situations, having a growth mindset. And these are all things that we feel are important in terms of developing an overall student. And also to continue their success beyond just the undergraduate degree, getting graduate degrees, professional degrees. And I'll talk a little bit more about this, but yeah, in our 10 years of our program, we have had many students go on to become doctors, lawyers, working in big tech companies and holding high positions because of the leadership they attained through the years from our school as well as into university. So that's kind of the nutshell in terms of why we started this program. In terms of more details about the program, so like I said, it is our 10th year. We've had 8 graduating classes, so this group that we have right now will be our 9th graduating class. And I believe the intake that we are going to be taking in will be our 11th cohort, if I'm not mistaken, because our grade 11s right now would be our 10th. Many of our graduates are working at some of the most sought after tech companies. This includes Apple, Microsoft, Google, Tesla, Intel, you name it, a lot of these big corporations. A lot of our students are going there to work. We also have a lot of students that are doing startups down in the Silicon Valley. And it's always great hearing from former students when they give me a chance to catch up and hear some of the exciting things that they're doing. And so we will be accepting 45 students for the 2023 intake. And this is our target, 45. We have had years where it's been higher. We've had years where it's lower. This past group that we've accepted into 2022, we actually started at 58. That is our biggest intake that we have had. And so that 45 is not a hard cap number. It's probably the one that we try to aim towards, but we have some flexibility with that. the way our program works. And you may have seen this in our website, but each semester in grade 11 and 12, 2 of the 4 blocks each semester will be designated for Science Academy. So either all morning or all afternoon, the students will be blocked into Science Academy. They will get credit for the following courses. Now, keep in mind that when I say 2 classes per semester, that would mean over the grade 11-12 year, that would include 8 courses, and each high school course is worth 4 credits. So that should be 32 high school credits, but we have found a way to kind of compress curriculum and whatnot, so that students will actually get 40 high school credits, all the ones that you see there: pre-calculus 12, chemistry 11-12, physics 11-12, AP Calculus BC, which is a full year course, so that gives you another 8 credits, industrial coding and design, which is a course that we have introduced into our program, which is another 4 credits. And for the fact that they're taking courses up at SFU, they will get 8 university credits there as well. So like I said, that gives you 40 high school credits. But more importantly, on top of that, they will have an opportunity to attain up to 14 university credits. That is almost equivalent to 1 semester of university. Students have a choice. They can take either SFU Chemistry 121, 122, and 126. The 122 and 126 are the 2nd semester chemistry course, or they can choose SFU Computing Science 130, 135, which are both 3 credit courses, and then the AP Calculus BC. If a student passes that exam with a suitable mark, they can get up to 6 university credits with that. So in total, that would give them up to 14 university credits. For those that do the computing science, that would work out to be 12 university credits. Okay. So the question is then, how is this done? So basically, like I said, 2 of the blocks are for Science Academy, and in those 2.5 hours, students, it's a flexible instructional schedule designed by their instructors. The 2.5 hours each day is for lecture, labs, group work, and or independent studies. In their grade 11 year, the first year study, students will be instructed in Pre-Calc 12, Chemistry 11 and 12, and Physics 11. So those 4 courses will be done in the grade 11 year. But we also then, because of the time, we are also able to start Physics 12 and also a course called Industrial Coding and Design 12. And that course, Industrial Coding and Design, basically introduces students to the process of what engineers would go through, a lot about designing, learning some machine coding, and actually constructing and building things with their hands. And also having an opportunity to work with machinery, like the 3D printer, the actual machining that cuts metal and wood and things like that. And in their second year of studies, students then will be instructed in AP Calculus BC at the school at Fraser Heights. They will go to SFU Surrey and do the chemistry course, and then or do the computing science course. And they do have a different schedule, but I mean, it does work out. But SFU has graciously adjusted their adjusted when the courses are offered, and our school has adjusted our bell schedule so that there's minimal impact when the students do have to go to SFU. In the past, we've had students that take SFU courses, and they're taking courses at all different times, and it was challenging to make sure they got to their courses, and they would often miss a lot of classes at the school. But with our program, there is minimal impact. And then also in the grade 12 year, they'll finish the Physics 12, as well as the Industrial Coding and Design 12. Some of the advantages to this program, obviously the integration topics in math and science, as I mentioned before. There is a compressed curriculum, more courses in a smaller amount of time. And so that's what allows us to finish more things. A big thing, which is the opportunity to work in a cohort with other students interested in math and science. So because most of the students in this program are quite keen and eager, we are able to save some time, but also, like I said, you work in a cohort where all the students are similar, like-minded, eager, and also just very motivated to get work done. We also take field trips. One of the field trips that we try to go to SFU for a chance to work in the chemistry lab. We go to UBC to go to Triumph, which is a world-class particle accelerator that is often used for nuclear reactions, as well as biomedical reasons. Opportunity to be instructed by university professors. And once again, this is a big difference between an IB program or an AP program, is that you are actually taking an SFU course by professors with other SFU students. And the advantage is that you will still have the support network of being in a high school. And so you'll have your friends there with you. You'll have teachers here that can help you with whatever concerns you're having. You're not just left to be like a university student. And finally, another big bonus is that the tuition is covered by the ministry. Now, international students, it is not covered, but there is a separate program. It's called Concurrent Studies through the Ministry of Ed, the provincial level, as well as our district, that will fund the students for the tuition of the courses that they take. Sorry, Mr. Stewart, is there anything, should I slow down? Is there any questions that you had? I guess I should have done this more often, but.
No, you're good.
Okay. Yeah, actually, we're actually moving along quite well. Some other program highlights. There will be focus on the use of technologies to enhance learning and sharing of their ideas. It is a bring your own device program. We prefer students have a tablet or a laptop. Sometimes some of the labs that they will be doing will be using a computer interface measurement devices, so they can do labs. We also do some open inquiry. This is a big thing with education currently, but we do it in an appropriate way. Not everything is open inquiry, but we will have opportunities where students will learn some stuff on their own and giving them a chance to share what they have learned and what they have discovered. And as I mentioned earlier, there's an introduction to design, basic coding, and then using machinery to build and construct things. Once again, going back to this idea of the process being more important than just knowing it's good for engineers to know how to calculate things, but to actually to physically build things and see what it takes to make and build strong, it's an invaluable skill. So that's other program highlights. And one of the big questions that is asked by parents and students is, is my son or daughter a suitable candidate? And so let me start by saying that and talk to you about the kind of students that we're trying to build. Okay, and then I think that will then maybe give you an understanding of why we have the program set up the way we do. And so, and we do have goals of the program, but in more common language, what I would say is that we want to build students that can become strong leader, that wants to become a strong leader, shows integrity, sound judgment, and an awareness of things beyond what is in front of them. The ability to effectively communicate their ideas. And as I mentioned, we do open inquiry projects where students are going to be coming up in front of the entire class to present their findings. We find that being able to communicate and work as a team are all important skills to not only have for university, but to in the workforce as well. Having the courage to stand for what is important. Once again, it goes back to having integrity. There will be times when students might say, why are you taking Science Academy? It's too difficult and whatnot. And we should have the courage to stand up and say, no, this is important to me. We're also trying to build students that are academically strong and not just quick and intelligent, but ones that are resilient, responsible, pays attention to details. And this is my, 20 years of teaching very intense, highly intellectual students. And, you get a feeling for which students are going to do well when they go off to university. And so these are some of the things that I've noticed about the ones that have the essential skills that are going to go to whatever program they decide, and they're still going to be okay. And the resiliency of being responsible, and the ones that pay attention to small details. We want them to have an intrinsic passion for learning with a growth mindset. And the growth mindset is a new educational term, but it's the ability to know that, you might not understand something right now, but you will eventually get it, right? It's not about I'm good at math or not good at math, or I'm good at this and not good at this, but it just takes time, it takes effort, but you can eventually get it if you put the time and effort into it. We're also trying to build students who are aware of who they are, knows their strengths and weaknesses, important part of learning, understand the importance of emotional intelligence and its role to becoming a better student and a better leader. You know, when I hear a lot of universities talk about acceptance and so forth, this term seems to be coming up more and more. It's not about the marks, not the perfect 100% or having a straight A average. It's about how well does the student work with other people? How well do they know themselves? Have they built relationships with their teachers and their peers, and know how to, like I said, work together and be aware of what things are important, what things are key, what things are able to then allow them to know their strengths and weaknesses. And like I said, that emotional intelligence seems like a huge catchphrase, a huge key factor of a student's success at university and also beyond. And once again, going back to being a strong leader. And so, so then what kind of students are we looking for? So yeah, sorry, the previous slide was about what students we're trying to build. And so the students that we're looking for then are students who can become a strong leader by being a good follower in class and in groups. I remember hearing a talk from a university dean, or I guess it was a person in charge of admissions, and they had talked a lot about how finding a good leader usually starts with someone that's also a good follower. Because if you don't know how to follow, then trying to lead becomes really difficult because you have no empathy for the people that you're trying to lead. And so, you know, being in class, we don't want the student that's saying, you know, I know it all, I don't need to pay attention in class. Those are not the students that we're looking for. We're looking for students that are aware of the importance of becoming an effective communicator. Once again, going back to this idea that, you know, just learning in isolation is not what's important. It's the ability to work with others, learn together as a group, and then being able to effectively communicate that. Once again, not just for university, but in the work field. Being able to identify what is important to them. Once again, that's all part of being a strong leader. We're looking for students who want to become stronger academically and emotionally. Understand that learning is an ongoing process, going back to that growth mindset. Not afraid of challenges that they will face. And I will say that most students will face some challenges in this program. It might be in grade 11, it might be in grade 12, but then the question becomes, you know, what do they do when they face these challenges? Sometimes their students are going to be stressed about marks. And once again, if a student is strictly focused on marks, this might not be the right program for them, because the marks that they get, I don't want to say that the marks will be lower, because if you talk to the teachers in our program, they will tell you that the tests that they use, the assessment methods are all the same. It's just that we go at a pace that's maybe, you know, they're expected to do more on their own, right? So it might mean that, you know, if they were in a regular class taking it in the grade 12 year instead of grade 11 year, they may get a higher mark because they may be a little more mature, they might be more, they might have more time, right? But the question then becomes, well, how important is that mark to you? I mean, it's a good mark that will get you into university, but then will you be able to keep that mark when you get to university or be able to reproduce it? And what we found is that students that learn to handle themselves in this program and are, like I said, are not afraid to face those challenges, when they get to university, they're also going to do well there. And finally, willing to take risks and expand their comfort zone in learning styles and community. We don't want students that are, you know, always going to be comfortably sitting in the back, not interacting with other students. They're going to have to get used to the fact that they're going to have to work with students that maybe they don't know, people that don't learn the same way, may have different styles of expressing themselves. But you know, we create a safe environment in our program. But once again, there's sometimes that they might be a little bit outside their comfort zone, and they should be willing to take that risk. So that's the kind of students that we're looking for, the ones that are open, ready for these types of things. Some important dates.
Hang on, James.
Yeah.
There's a bunch of questions now.
Okay. Let's just finish this slide because this is the last slide, and then we'll go.
Okay.
So yeah, this is the last slide. I'm pretty sure you're probably tired of hearing me talking, but applicants are due February 24th this year. I think that's correct, or is that last year's? I think that's 24th. It's on our website, so it's either 24th or 23rd. We used to do a practical test. There will be no practical test this year as well, just because of COVID. And the acceptance into the program will be determined by spring break, so that you will know before spring break if you've been accepted or not. And application forms and more information are available on our website, which is here. I'm sure most of you are familiar with that website. Okay, so now I know there's going to be lots of questions. I do want to, I've asked 2 students to join us tonight. The other students are joined in just, I guess, for the sake of trying to be supportive maybe, but there's Caitlin Zhu. She's a grade 11 student in our program. One of the reasons I've asked her to come speak tonight was she was a student that took Chemistry 11 in her grade 10 year. And so basically when chemistry was happening in our grade 11 year, she was working on something else because she already done that course. But she was part of the program for the physics and the math, and now with the Chemistry 12 started. But she would be a good student to ask about, things like that. And then the other student is Anna D'Souza, a grade 12 student. She, like I said, 2 years in our program now. She's taking, I believe, chemistry up at SFU. And she also had an older sister that went through her program. And, she is now, I guess, 3rd or 4th year at, I believe it's Western University in Ontario. But maybe she could also give a little insight on how she's doing or how she's liking the university as a result of being in our program. So, okay. So anyways, Mr. Stewart, over to you.
Over to me so I can send it over to you. I guess the first question is, how do the credits from SFU transfer to other universities?
Yeah, actually, I should have mentioned that. Sorry, let me just want to make sure. Okay. Sorry, it's really dark in my room right now. I've been sitting quietly, and the lights go up. Okay, there we go. All right, so I'm just going to turn my camera on. So, okay, there we go. All right, so the credits. So basically, we're kind of using SFU. So SFU, please don't think that because you've taken SFU course that you have to go to SFU. We know many of our students go to UBC, a lot of schools out east in Ontario. But most universities, because the first year chemistry is uniform throughout, most of those courses are transferable. And so you have to, depending on the university you go to, they will give you, or they'll tell you what part of it is transferred. I know UBC will give you the full transfer, I believe, for the chemistry course. Not sure about the computing science course, but AP Calculus is accepted in North America, I believe, except for University of Toronto. They're a little bit old school with their belief in calculus, but I will say that the students that do go to Toronto, and we do send a lot of students to Toronto, they have often said that taking calculus again the first year, most of it is just a review for them, and so it's kind of a nice course to have on their list of courses.
Okay. There were a lot of questions about the acceptance and the application process. So I guess I'll start with, is there a difference between, let me just read it straight. Do students in the catchment area who are already in our school have a better chance of admission than out of catchment students?
No, everyone's treated equally. It is a district program, so all students will be fair game. No, and the other question I know is going to come up is, what if my student is taking Pre-Calc 11 second semester? We are aware of that. Once again, we treat them all the same. They will get usually what we call a conditional acceptance until at least the first term to kind of see how they're doing in Pre-Calc 11. And if they're doing fine, then we accept them. If they're maybe not doing as well as they hoped, we may wait till the end of the year to make a decision. But more often than not, most cases, students will be accepted into our program if they meet the requirements. Now, to expand on that, like, we haven't had a situation where we've had to say no to some students. It's more about, is this program the right fit for you? And so if a student does well in their Pre-Calc 11 Science 10 and they're a well-rounded student, we usually accept them. But if their mark maybe in Pre-Calc 11 is, let's say, low 80s or mid 80s, I may have a further conversation. I might talk to the reference that you put down just once again, just to make sure that this is the right program for you. Just another word in terms of the students that are from outside the school. I usually have a further conversation with them about, are you sure you want to come? Because they do have to switch schools, and it is quite a commitment. And we have found that students have come into our school in their grade 11 year because of the fact that there's new surroundings, new teachers, new friends that they have to make. They do have a tougher time. And so, yeah, we just want to make sure that they are coming to the program for the right reasons and that they're able to handle it.
Okay, I feel like that answered a bunch of questions. And the question about if you've taken like Chem 11 or one of the courses that we do in Science Academy previously.
Yeah.
So a student like Caitlin who has done Chem 11 already, she just self-studies during those blocks.
Yes, and actually, Caitlin, you could talk a little bit about this because she did have a little bit of insight when I asked her about how things were going. So, Caitlin, do you want to chime in?
Sure. Okay, so what I found was I'm glad I took Chem 11 in grade 10 because I had fun and my teacher was cool. But the thing is, once I got into grade 11, first of all, I planned on self-studying during the block, but I honestly ended up doing basically nothing. And also, I felt a little bit disconnected from the class because, people would be like, oh, have you done your lab? It's due, tomorrow. Or they'd be like, there's a unit test, next week, let's study. And I'd kind of just have to reject them and be like, I literally am not taking this course. And it was kind of sad. So, yeah.
And one of the advantages of actually doing the Chem 11 in our program is that Miss Davis, the chemistry teacher, gets it done by Christmas time. So you're actually getting it done in 4 months compared to 5. And so it's a little more efficient, I guess, to get the chemistry done in our program. And maybe, if you take a different course, it might have been better for them. So.
And there is an option. So if you've done Physics 11, for example, but you didn't quite get the grade you wanted, you have the choice to do it in Science Academy again. So it's not one or the other.
Yeah, that's correct.
So universities will, I guess, which universities know about our program?
I couldn't answer that. I will say this. I know UBC. I had a long chat with the coordinator of the Science 1 program, and they were very intrigued about our program, and they wanted more students from our program to join. But the problem with Science 1 is that when you join that, you have to take all the courses with them. So none of the credits that you get for AP Calculus or chemistry course, you can't transfer those credits over because you have to take the entire package. And some kids actually say, you know what, I'm going to give those credits up and just to repeat it. But a lot of our students will, like I said, bypass that and go straight to UBC. So UBC is aware of our program. I know he said to me, tell your students to put that there from Fraser Science Academy when they apply for Science 1. Now, he's not in the admission group, but the fact that he had told me to say that, that's one thing. I know UBC is also using more of application that's more well-roundedness. What's the word that they use? Personal profile. And quite often our students will talk about their experiences with Science or Science Academy, and it does help them. We send a lot of students out east, University of Toronto, Waterloo. And Waterloo is a school that came out and said basically flat out that they track their students in saying that if they accept students from different schools with a similar mark and they see how they do at university, it factors in then them accepting students in the future. And like I said, we do send a lot of students to Waterloo. And I also know that once our students get there, a lot of them do quite well. And so I think that has helped us. And also because a lot of our students will write math contests, and that also factors in. And obviously SFU, and I know SFU, I remember having a conversation with the Dean of Science, and then she was saying how do we get more of your students to stay at our school? And I have to let them down, say a lot of our students are looking for bigger schools because that's what the parents would prefer, and she understood that. But with that said, I will say that every year we do send a handful of students that go to SFU, and they do exceptionally well. So yeah, but I couldn't answer exactly which schools, but I have a feeling that it does impact their acceptance into universities.
course selection occurs before students know whether they've been accepted or not. How does that work?
Yeah, so I had a long chat with our admin. Basically, their preference would be that if you have an interest in Science Academy, select the Science Academy course selection. So you'd sign up for the 4 Science Academy courses, you'd pick your 4 electives. Because most of the students that apply do get accepted. If there are a handful of students that change their mind after conversations with me, it's easy to then go back and pick another 4 additional courses outside of Science Academy. So yeah, for all those that are interested, and this will come up at the assembly next week, that they will mention that for Science Academy students that are interested, you put it down, and that's your timetable for the time being, because it's easy, like I said, to switch out after.
So I realize now I've never actually seen the application form, so I have no idea what's actually all it required. But people are talking about references, so I'm assuming they have to list references. The question specifically is it okay to include just the reference's email rather than phone number?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, for sure. And just a quick word about the reference, because I have had some parents emailing me specifically about that. The references, they don't have to be a reference letter. Please do not ask them to write a reference letter. It's more a reference so that in case, like I said, if in your application, I'm a little bit concerned about something, let's say you're kind of on the bubble or I'm not sure this program is right for you, I may contact the reference just to see, and get a better sense of who you are. And that's why we ask for reference in a classroom as well as outside. And the reference outside, now, I guess I should be clear about that too. It could be a teacher in the school, but maybe they know you from a club or that you volunteered with, or maybe there was a coach or something like that. I can talk to you about, your interaction outside of our program, outside of school, sorry.
So it's asking for would you recommend, but how suited is the program to kids who aren't necessarily interested in STEM, but more so maybe business or health sciences?
Well, health sciences. So basically, I'm going to say this. Our program, obviously, as the name said, for sciences, but we've had students that are in terms of like all facets of interest where they go afterwards. We've had students that go into political science. We've had lawyers. We've had people that go into business. And, any course that requires mathematics, science, computing science, this program is well suited for them. And like I said, the other thing is it's well suited for anyone that really wants a challenge. It doesn't have to be just students that want to go into the STEM field. In fact, you might go through our program and realize maybe, this program is not for me, right? And, one of our very first graduating class students and going to Yale University, and she went straight to political science, and she appreciated the time that she had in Science Academy, but she realized how much she preferred the political sciences. So and business, I would say for sure, because business does require calculus. Most businesses will also require you to take some kind of computing science course, and so our program would be very well suited for that as well.
Yeah, there's a lot of skills that we teach that aren't necessarily science specific, but just how to learn and how to deal with a course load that's crazy, but not university crazy quite yet. So it's definitely good for preparation.
Yes.
So somebody asked if you, so you don't have to take all the courses in the program?
Well, you do. I mean, the intent should be that you're going to take all of them. We have had situations in the grade 12 year, if a student is having a difficulty with a certain course, they may opt to take one, or not maybe take the second semester of university or something like that. But I mean, I would hope that any student that joins the program has the intent of taking all the courses.
Yeah. How does Science Academy affect other elective courses?
Well, I mean, because you're taking 4 classes with Science Academy, the other 4 classes you can select to do whatever you'd like. Now, I have heard students tell me that because of Science Academy, they couldn't take certain electives, but I mean, the advantage is that you are taking some courses that you would not have an opportunity to do other than being in our program. But the hope is for you to have an opportunity to take other courses, other electives, And that's the only reason why we only do our program half the time, because we want you to be immersed in school, in the other courses, humanities courses, any electives or option courses that you might choose to take. But yeah, there should be an opportunity for you to be able to take electives as well.
If somebody is younger than grade 10 but still has Science 10 and Pre-Calc 11, can they apply?
Yes, good question. So initially, we've been pretty firm on not doing that. Being a parent, being a teacher that's been at the school a long time, I've seen too many cases where students, I go back to that emotional intelligence. They may have covered the academic load, but often they're not mature enough to handle some of the things that you face in this program, and handle the fact that you're gonna be working with other students. If you think about our program, essentially what you're doing is you're taking like a half-time university in your grade 12 year, so you're already accelerated 1 year. If you do it in your grade, let's say 11 year, so you're younger, you're essentially taking university courses while in grade 11. And I have some reservations about that. Now, with that said, though, I have to say that we have had a couple students that have done this in the last couple of years, and they have worked out well. They've done quite well, and so I'm not as strong in my position of saying no, you can't. But I would think that it should be case by case. I'd really want to make sure I'm comfortable with that, by getting to know the student a little bit, talking to the parents a little bit. Yeah, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with it because, like I said, I don't want to impact their long-term development, but it definitely is something that we could look at.
If there are more applicants than positions available, how are applicants chosen over others?
Yeah. So that's a very good question. Mostly marks, I guess, from the Pre-Calc 11 and Science 10. We may also factor in, I do ask for your TVR, your diploma verification, DVRs, which is a list of all your courses. So we may look at how you do it outside of just math and science courses. We will look at your involvement with other activities. One thing I probably should have mentioned is in our program, we really discourage this idea that you drop everything to just be in Science Academy. That's not the type of learners that we want. That's not the type of learners that we're trying to develop. Like I said, I go back, we're trying to develop leaders here. And to me, a student that can only handle Science Academy is just basically someone that's going to be good at sciences, but maybe not become a leader. And not to say that they can't develop those skills, but yeah, I would be a little leery about that. Sorry, and I lost my train of thought. What was the initial question, Mr. Strick?
I can't remember which one it was. I think it was how do we accept people if there's too many applicants?
Right. So yeah. Going back, so it would be based on like your overall report card, and I would imagine, like I said, we've never had a case where we've had to reject students per se, but it's more about talking to them and making sure that we know that this is the right program for them. I have to say, I should have mentioned that we accepted 58 last year. We did have to say no to a couple students because they didn't meet the requirements. Because of COVID, it's been difficult to really assess how students are doing and what they're capable of. And so I kind of gave a lot of students the benefit of the doubt, but maybe I'll be a little more careful with that. But to answer your question, there's no exact way we do it, but I really don't think it's going to become a problem where we have to say that we have got too many good applicants. We're going to have to start rejecting suitable applicants. I don't think we'll ever get to that point. So, yeah.
What would you say for somebody who's taken more than one of our required courses?
Yeah, that's always a bit of a concern because they're now going to be missing more than just one class, and like Caitlin was saying, they're going to feel disconnected from the group. And the other thing I would worry about is, how well they know those things. Because, I mean, Ms. Davis could talk, and Mr. Shug, you can always talk about this. Like the way you teach your courses is kind of a setup for the grade 12 year. And I know in your grade 11 year, you do a lot of labs. And, if a student has done it online or through summer school, they may not have those experiences that they need. So I would maybe almost recommend that they maybe take one of those courses again, maybe the one that they feel they need more work on. So. But once again, we could talk more about that because we have had situations like that before.
Yeah. What would a day look like when having to go back and forth between SFU and Fraser Heights courses? How do the schedules mesh?
Yeah, so it actually works quite well. Anna, do you want to talk about this? You've been kind of quiet. Are you there,
Yeah.
Anna?
Yeah. Hi. Okay, so SFU, for chemistry at least, we have a lecture 3 times a week. So on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, lecture is only about like 50 minutes. So for most of us, we catch the bus. Some people get driven, but you're able to get to and from SFU. It only takes about 15 minutes. And so even before we go to SFU, let's say if it's at 1:20, we can have a short class before that. So not your whole afternoon is taken up by SFU. So it's really not too bad. Yeah.
Yeah, and then on Tuesdays and Thursdays, they don't have SFU courses. That's there will be here full time, and that's where they often they'll do the physics or the AP calculus.
Yeah, very minimally does it interrupt actual Fraser Heights courses.
Yeah, and that's one of the, like I said, we kind of planned our schedule, our timetable, and as well as our bell schedule with SFU. And as Anna said, if you catch the bus right at the ESO, which is right across the street from our school, I believe you get to SFU Surrey in 12 minutes, 15 I guess with traffic, and then same thing coming back.
Have students ever dropped out of the program or left the program?
Yes, we should talk about that as well. Now, obviously, like I said, when a student joins a program, the hope is that they've committed and they're going to work towards it. But we also know that things come up. Some students that have transferred from other schools, they really don't know what they've gotten themselves into. And some students within our school as well. And so we have students that have left after year 1, so after the first year. And they'll get their 4 courses, the credit for the Chem 11, Chem 12, Physics 11, and the Pre-Calc 12. And then in the grade 12 year, often they may repeat a course or just take a more variety of courses because they weren't they didn't do as well as they hoped. And I go back to this, like obviously our program is designed to prepare students for university, but we have to get them into university. And so if their marks are lower than they would have hoped, they may have to repeat some courses. And we've also had students that have dropped after 1 semester. We really don't like this, but once again, it could be a situation where a student just didn't mesh with the program, didn't know what they were signing up for. And in that case, what they'll do is they'll get credit for Chemistry 11, because that course will be done by first semester, but that's the only credit that they will attain. The half the course of the Pre-Calc 12 and the Physics 11 that they've done up to that point, they will essentially lose that credit. So, but then the second semester, like they can recreate a schedule that's more that will give an opportunity for them to have success, and essentially they've lost 1 course.
If a student has done most of the grade 11 courses that we teach in the grade 11 year, can they jump into Science Academy in the grade 12 year?
Yeah, no, once again, that goes back to that age thing. And one of the things that, and once again, maybe Anna or Kaylin could talk about this, but maybe Anna, the grade 11 year is actually quite foundational. We really, this is where you kind of learn how our program works, how the teachers work. More than just the content, it's about becoming an efficient learner, being aware of some of the details. A lot of growth happens in the grade 11 year, and that's once again in preparation for the grade 12 year where they're going to be taking university courses. A student that, let's say, has covered those courses and just wants to jump straight into, or I wouldn't even know if I would be able to say to that student, or sorry, to say to SFU, I can recommend this student, right? So they would still have to come into our program and once again, at least our school, for us to get a chance to know who they are before we would just say, yeah, we're recommending for this program. So yeah, I said for the age reason and for the familiarity reason, I wouldn't be able to say, yeah, they could take their grade 12 year in a year early.
Maybe Caitlin can answer this question.
Mm-hmm.
For the industrial coding and design course, did you need any prior coding knowledge or anything? And I'm going to add to this question, what types of things do you do in that course?
Okay, so the naming's honestly pretty misleading. Like, we don't really do traditional coding. Like, we don't do things like Java or C++ or something. We do like G code, which is basically telling machines to do stuff, like cut things. It's not really stuff you normally think of. We also use a lot of softwares like Inventor and stuff like that. Like, if you've done drafting in, say, like grade 9, 10 or something, you basically do stuff like that, except you just basically explore a bunch of different programs, and it's kind of like more suited towards engineering, I'd say.
Awesome. I think sort of this has been answered, but if you don't have a prerequisite course already, you can get a conditional acceptance, and then we will look at, once you are completed, that acceptance will be finalized or not.
Yeah. So if it's a student that's taking a course in semester 2, that you really don't have to worry about. If the student that needs to take a course through summer school, we've had students that we've had to wait till after summer school was completed before we fully accepted them. Because I do realize some students were not aware of the program and then are rushing to finish, let's say, it online or through summer school to get their pre-calc 11 done. So yeah, we will definitely wait till they've completed that course.
What percentage in pre-calc 11 do we need for acceptance?
Yes, that's a hard one to answer right now because I'm sure many of you are aware that we no longer have honors programs at our school. So it's hard to say. But in the years past, we expect our students to be in the 90s in the pre-calc 11. If you're below 90, we have found that students have a tougher time. And one thing, and this is not for every student, because I can't say every student, because I've had students that were, mid 80s in grade 11, and then something clicked in the grade 12 year, they were fine, and then they did really well in their grade 12 year. So it's not like there's a real one percentage, I'll say, but just from, in generally speaking, we want students to be in their 90s in pre-calc 11.
Do we look at Math 10 at all?
Yeah, sometimes I do, especially if a student's taking the pre-calc 11 in their grade second semester, then I'll look at their pre-calc 10 mark. And sometimes I look at both of them. But yeah, like I said, it's the pre-calc 11 is a prerequisite, but when I look at their overall transcript, I do scan most of their marks. So.
Should references be related to Science Academy, like be science teachers or math teachers, or?
Not necessarily. I would say pick a teacher that you've worked well with, because chances are, even if you don't put your math teacher down, and I'm a little bit concerned with your mark, I may go talk to that math teacher anyways. So picking another teacher that knows you better might actually help you, because if I then talk to them and they say, yeah, but this person is this and this, it might actually help.
Yeah. So I think I want to answer this question. So why we don't offer Bio 11 and Bio 12 in Science Academy. So actually, I'll let you answer that, and then I'll answer the next one.
Sure. So yeah, I mean, obviously we'd love to add more sciences, but quite often students that are going to engineering or the physical sciences, they don't need to take biology. So to force our students to take bio, it would be a hard sell for all the students. But chemistry is a course that all science students have to take, and to some extent, any science student will have to take some level of physics. and most often engineers will have to take physics as well. And so those are the courses that we found were the key parts. And you know, if a student needs to take bio, they can do that on their own time. So that's the reason why we didn't add biology to it.
Yeah, and then there's a question of, so if somebody is wanting to go into health science and they do need biology, how do they take it? So they would take it in the 2 blocks outside of Science Academy. And I can tell you, like, I'm teaching Bio 12 right now outside of Science Academy, and the first unit is biochemistry. And so my students right now are complaining, why are we learning chemistry so much? Like, you should have told me to take chemistry before bio. So it is a lot of chemistry, applied chemistry to a biological field. So it is having that chemistry background from Science Academy actually really helps for those students taking bio.
And I remember scanning your room. It looks like you have a lot of Science Academy students in your class right now.
Yes. Except for Wednesdays when they're at SFU doing their lecture,
right,
or their labs. For the application form, is it allowed to mention prior valuable experience, such as different university competitions you participated in?
Absolutely, and that's where, you know, we have a section where you can list some of the other things that you're involved in, because we want to know who you are just overall. So if that was an experience that really impacted you, put that down. Yeah, for sure.
Do students get opportunities to participate in sports and other extracurriculars as a part of Science Academy?
Yes, as I said earlier, we strongly encourage our students to be involved in other things. We've had world-class swimmers. We've had a student that graduated last year that was a national level swimmer. I believe he's in Columbia now, Columbia University in New York, on the swim team. We've had many of our students that are volleyball players, badminton players, basketball players, and many of our students are involved in Model United Nations, debate club. You know, we want our students to be well-rounded. And as I mentioned earlier, if a student tells me that they have to drop all their extracurriculars to be in our program, I'd be concerned. I would say maybe this program is not quite for you. We want our students to have a balance of, I mean, a steady amount of homework, but they need to find time or ways to balance it with their extracurriculars. You know, one of the things that when I talk to a student that come back from university, they say, you know, it's great that they learned all this content, but more important, they learned how to study, they learned how to make efficient use of their time. And that to them is probably the biggest advantage that they have over all their friends that are at university with them. Yeah, and like I said, maybe Anna or Caitlin, you guys could, maybe Anna, you could talk a little bit about this.
Sorry, can you repeat the question?
I was just talking about how our program encourages you to be involved in extracurricular, and not just focusing on just doing just the science courses or just the courses in our program.
Yeah, so I guess Science Academy definitely tries to get you to look past just science and like actually making sure you're a well-rounded student as well. So like club activities are definitely really a great way. Personally, I participate in lots of club activities at our school that is offered, like Leo Club and Good Guys Club. But also there's a lot of opportunities outside of school that are related to science. Like this summer, I participated in as a volunteer for UBC Gearing Up, which is a summer camp leader for science summer camps. So that was like really fun. And I think what made me a better candidate is that I was part of Science Academy and I had a lot of knowledge in the sciences, and I also had a passion for it. So you can definitely apply what you learn in Science Academy, and it can be a strength outside of school and in your extracurriculars too.
Awesome. Well said. And arts courses required to receive a high school diploma, would that have to be taken outside of an elective?
Yeah. Once again, all the requirements like the English and the socials and all the requirements that you need to graduate, which sounds like to me that they've reduced that number. I could be wrong, but it doesn't seem to be that hard to graduate anymore in terms of the number of courses that you have to take. But yeah, all those other courses would have to be taken outside of Science Academy.
This one is for Caitlin and then Anna. Apart from time spent in school, how much time per day do you spend on homework for Science Academy?
Okay, so this question's honestly really hard to answer because it differs between people. Like personally, I don't spend that much time on homework because I'm the kind of person who pays like a lot of attention in class, so I save time and I literally like speed run homework in class in like 20 minutes. So I literally, yeah. But it doesn't work for everyone. Like personally, it works. But I'd say if you use your time at school wisely, like use the work time you're given, your workload is definitely going to decrease. And if you really need help on a subject, like feel free to ask the teachers. Like they're really passionate, they really want to help. So yeah, there's no number to it, I'd say.
Anna?
Okay, in a sense, I am kind of opposite to Caitlin. I definitely require the extra time outside of class. So I will say in my grade 11 year, I would probably spend anywhere between 1 and 2 hours per night. But that varies. And honestly, I am very slow at doing homework. So chances are you could probably do that quicker. And then in the grade 12 year, I would say that definitely the workload is increased. So you will be spending a lot more time on homework, but it's still a manageable amount. So I would say maybe like 3 hours sometimes, but other times you can get away with a little less. But it's always important to try and stay on top of things. If you can try and learn it in class and really absorb the information, that is probably the best route to go.
Just don't procrastinate.
Slow but diligent, right, Anna? Yeah, in the grade 12 year, you're essentially a part-time university student, so you would expect the workload to match that. So there's a few questions about the Science 10 and the Pre-Calc 11 being a prerequisite. We don't actually really look at the Science 10 mark. We found it doesn't have much bearing on the success of students, and the best predictor is the Pre-Calc 11 mark. So Science 10 needs to be done in order to take Chem 11 and Physics 11, but the mark isn't as important.
Right. Actually, just add to that, I would say like the mark in Science 10 would be looked at just like all their other marks with English and socials and so forth.
Yeah. Can the application be emailed?
Yes. Yeah, if you can send it to my email, that'd be fine as well.
Yeah, and like when we're looking at applications, we would look at other grades as well, including grade 11 and 12 courses if they were done.
The full package for sure.
Yeah. That one's about electives. Yeah, you can take any elective outside of Science Academy. If you're interested in history, yeah, you can take that. Yeah. So if somebody's not done Science 10, but they are done Pre-Calc 11, yeah, you can take that in summer school. Same idea. So relating to jumping to the grade 12 and the grade 11 year, if a student seems like a good fit, would they advance to the grade 12 year?
Yeah, that's hard to answer. We've never had that. I'll say that. We've never had a student go straight into the grade 12 year. Yeah, I just, if that student is that truly accelerated and wanting to take universe courses, and essentially when they're in grade 11, they might be, more inclined to maybe go to a different program, or just, I don't know. I'd have to talk to that student individually, but like I said, we are not in favor of that for many reasons.
Yeah. This one's a really good question. What would the social environment be like for new students who transfer schools?
Yeah. Good question. We have found, obviously we try our best. One of our goals is to create a very safe environment for our students to work in, and comfortable and working well with others. I will say by the end of grade 12, they're like one big family. when we go to our end of the year field trips, they feel like there's one big group together, and so they will become very close. But with that said, at the beginning, it is challenging for the new students because you know, the rest of the students are have been together for 2, maybe 3 years in their high school years. So, but you know, if the student makes an effort to, like, say, go outside their comfort zone, force themselves to, you know, work with other groups, other people in the program, it will be better. You know, we actually this year we have a student that's from Ukraine, and it's only been in Canada for I guess 6 months now, but he joined our program, and it was difficult at first, but now he's, you know, in a mix with some other kids. You know, I recall another student that came over from a neighboring high school, and she made an effort to constantly meet new people, sit beside new people, and within the end of the first semester, she was fine. Whereas other students, you know, because they're shy, whatever, they'll sit at the back by themselves. And we try to get them involved by bringing them forward. And you know, one of the things we do at the beginning of the year, we do group work, where students are forced to be in group of 4 and work on a project together. So there will be opportunities like that, but it does go back to the student to make an effort to try to click with other people around them. So, but it does have challenges for sure.
If a student takes Pre-Calc 11 but doesn't do as well as they would like, and so they retake it,
Yep.
Do we consider those students as well?
Yeah, we have had those situations. No, I'm not a huge fan of students repeating courses, but you know, we also understand that sometimes a student may have had some reason why they didn't do well on the first time, and if they're making the effort to take it again, we do have to give them credit for that. So, yeah.
There's a lot of questions still about the taking the required courses in second semester, and I think it's more of the application side. Like, how do they indicate that?
Yeah, so if you are taking it second semester, when you hand in your application with your DVR, I will clearly know that you're taking second semester, and most likely it'll be a teacher within our school, Fraser Heights. Obviously, for those that are outside of our school, I'll deal with that separately. But I will be talking to your teacher and just kind of asking for, you know, an update. And usually by April, in the middle of April, you'll have completed your first semester, and so they will have a pretty good indication of where you're sitting in that course. Now, if you're sitting at, let's say, you know, low 80s or 70s, I may say, okay, well, let's wait till the end of the year to get a better assessment. But if you're, you know, in the 90s at the midterm, and you also got a high mark in pre-calc 10, chances are I'm going to be accepting you, or we'll be accepting you into our program, and everything will move forward. But like I said, if it's a concerning mark, then we may have to wait till end of the year. But once again, we're not saying you're not going to be accepted. It just means that we may have to wait before you get the acceptance.
What are examples of out of classroom references?
So coaches, clubs, people that lead clubs. You know, I guess it could be a neighbor that knows you well. Maybe it's a neighbor that you've done some babysitting for, or you cut the lawn for. It could be anything. Truly, it could be it could be a youth pastor. You know, like I said, anyone that kind of knows you and could vouch for your character. But once again, it's not like most of the times I do not even contact that reference. It's more about the students that are on the border that maybe I have some concerns about. I may then contact the reference.
Somebody asked if there's a test to do. I'm assuming that means like an entrance exam. No, there's not. Where can we get information on international students?
Well, I mean, there really isn't anything to look at. We will accept international students. We have in the past. But just know that when you sign up for the SFU course and you're eligible, you're able to take it, but then you will have to pay international rates. If you go to SFU, look up tuition rates, and I will tell you, it is quite expensive. I believe it's triple the rate of a normal student. And so you'd have to look that up and kind of figure out how much it will cost you.
Do they email you the applications?
They can, or just drop it off, print it out, drop it off at the office. So the offices, they'll throw it into my mailbox, or they can choose to email it. Either
Okay.
or.
Somebody asked for your email address. The email address as well. The teachers
It's on
are
our
on
website.
the website.
Yeah, right where they got the application form.
Are extracurriculars that show leadership the next best benchmark other than the pre-calc 11 grades?
I wouldn't say the next best thing, but we would definitely factor it in, right? Definitely factor it in.
Yeah. And then this one is pre-calc 11 honors still prioritized over pre-calc 11, like normal pre-calc.
Don't
11.
have pre-calc 11 honors anymore. Yeah. It's gone. So, yeah.
Right. I think that's the end of the questions. If anybody has any last minute questions, feel free to type them into the chat. Wait a sec for that to happen. I don't see any. Oh. For reference, how many people applied last year?
I would say around somewhere between 65 and 70, I would say.
And we accepted 58.
Accepted 58 in the end, yes. And some of them changed their mind. Some of them was just not the right fit. There are a couple of very reasons why some of them decided not to come to our program.
Yeah, we're recording this meeting and we'll post it on the website.
Yes. We will.
Right. Are we taking strictly 45?
No, once again, we accepted 58 this year. So that 45 is just kind of a number that we start off with. If we have more than 45 suitable applicants, I will be talking to administration and they often will bump it up to a higher number. Like so they were okay with us running with 58 this year.
What website to post? Our Science Academy website. So it's
fhscienceacademy.ca. If you just do a Google search, type in Fraser Science Academy, you will find it there.
I'll put the link in the chat.
Sure, great.
Taking me a long time. Okay, here we go. Fraser Heights Science Academy or fhscienceacademy.ca. Okay, there is the link. So the school is overfilled. So what's the absolute maximum?
The absolute maximum would probably be 60. It just works well in terms of the teacher breakdown. Yeah, so absolute max would be 60.
And classroom sizes.
Yeah,
anything
right.
more than that, we don't fit anymore.
That's right. We just can't fit any more than that.
Will there be anything related to Science Academy after school hours, or is it only during school hours?
Science Academy courses are just during school hours. But quite often, like our students are involved in multiple things, and quite often they'll get together to work on things, either through math contests or science club or other things like that. But there'll be many opportunities for them to get involved after school, but in terms of the course content, it will be only during school hours.
I think we will conclude the meeting then.
Okay.
And if there's any additional questions, feel free to email.
Yes, absolutely.
Any of the Science Academy teachers, really. They're all on the website. So
yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
well,
thank you all for coming.
Yeah, a big thank you to Caitlin and Anna. I know Anna's studying right now. She's got a test tomorrow. I totally forgot about that. Sorry, Anna.
Definitely got my math out right now.
Yeah, huge thanks to those two. Yeah. I see John Woo's on this.
Yeah, I know.
Back from his meeting. Okay. Good. Thank you, Mrs. Strick.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go make sure my kids are in bed.
All right.
Leave now.
All right.